Okay, injury-wise, nothing of significance to update. We'll see kind of over the next day or so what it ends up looking like. Will came out of the game for the time being okay. There wasn't anything that, obviously from the side, just a little bit of pain, but I don't see anything hopeful that that's not anything more than what it was in the game, and we should be good. But again, we'll let a couple days go by. Harold obviously came out of the game and came back, so he was good. And we'll see where the guys that missed the game are at this week too. Hopefully we'll get Roger back this week, but we'll see where that ends up. So nothing major injury front wise, just normal procedure for us, and we'll see what we look like come Wednesday and throughout the week. After the game, after watching the tape, it's the loss was tough to swallow. There was a lot of things, and I know maybe the choice of words on something being positive in a 10-6 loss. I get that that's not well received, but I challenged the team to do a lot of things in this game the night before the game, really sort of across the board at all positions, and they really answered the bell in a lot of the phases and a lot of the things I had challenged them on. And that part to me was really encouraging because to do the things that were asked and rise to the occasion in a lot of areas that I asked of them was something that was positive to me. And at the end of the day, how do you have so many positive things over the course of the game? You hold a team to 0 points through 3 quarters. It's our second lowest rushing total defensively that we've allowed. We rushed for 126 yards and 5 a carry. We had 4 penalties. We had 2 turnovers. We didn't turn the ball over. We were 50% on third down. I mean, there was all these things that would point to a game that you should have a chance to win. And we had chances, but the difference was for us in the game is we had really, let's call it 4 critical plays offensively that we needed to execute in a critical moment, and we did not. And that's the difference in the game. It's a game that had a chance to be a 20-10 game if we execute at best. If all the things work in our favor, that's where you end up. But we didn't do a good enough job in those critical moments of making the plays that are necessary to win a tight game. And that's the hardest part for me is to sit here and watch the tape and see so many things that I asked of our team and they delivered on, and then to see that we just, at the end of the day, it comes down to 3 or 4 plays in critical moments that we didn't execute. And that's hard because I think that we're still trying to build a program, and still trying to build something that's sustainable, that we can try to continue to improve on, and I look for the things that would show me that that's happening, and those are the things that I concern myself with, on top of obviously winning the football game. But there's a lot of other things that I have to look at and judge and determine where's good and where isn't, and where it has to be improved. So that's ultimately where I've come after reflection and watching the game a couple of times in all 3 phases. So with that, I'll let you guys go ahead.
Two critical plays, I guess, 2 that you referred to probably. The one where Will doesn't see Chig, and then the last pass to NWI. Mm-hmm. Are those the kind of plays that he has to hit? Maybe more so the first, even if he wants to kind of take that next step.
The first one, certainly. I mean, that's a touchdown play that we have to hit, and that's part of playing quarterback, and that's one that I'm sure he'll tell you the exact same thing. That's where the ball needs to go, and that's a big moment in the game on a 4th down. The second one, was actually it was a decent throw to the corner to Nick, and Nick kind of got both hands on it. Tough catch. I don't want to. That is not a gimme catch, but that's a catch that in a critical moment, if you want to win the game, those are the plays you have to make. And the other part of that is progression-wise. If he comes right back down over the ball to Calvin versus to Tampa, the ball goes to Calvin, and Calvin probably walks in the end zone. So, again, not faulting the decision, not faulting the throw. It's a play we have to make, but there was opportunity to score in both of those spots, and to come away with no points in critical 4th downs in a low red zone is going to usually, when you're talking about 14 total points, you're going to lose a lot of games like that, and we have to be better down there execution wise. Again, there's probably things I can do to help, play calling sequence wise and all that, but ultimately had 2 opportunities that we didn't get it done.
What did you judge the other 1 or 2 critical plays?
The play before the 4th down to Calvin, where we get the ball in his hands in the flat, and got a chance to turn up and get a first down. That would have been huge. We'd be first, we'd be first in goal inside the 5-yard line at that point. And that's a good place to be. And then instead now it puts us in a 4th down spot. But I thought had a chance to catch the ball and turn up. I thought Will maybe could have been a touch earlier. And Calvin just sort of lost where he was on the field a little bit. And but again, that's a big play. He's got the ball in his hands with a chance to get the first, and we don't. So it puts us in a 4th down spot. Then again, we failed to convert the 4th down. So that one, and then there's a 3rd and 6. 3rd and 6 sack, the one that we gave up on the right side, where we're in the protection slide that direction. The nickel comes off the edge. Nick's got to block that guy. It's a nickel off the edge. We got to block him, and then downfield we got Chig for what's probably a 30-yard gain, and you got Calvin for a touchdown. And so those are two guys kind of wide open on a big 3rd down as we cross midfield. That again, just an overall execution with a chance to convert that 3rd down in a big spot for an explosive gain on either side. That we fail in the protection element of it was disappointing. But those were probably those couple of plays were the biggest sequence plays that. We left on the field that had chances to help us win a game.
Can you explain the design intent of the Chig miss? You bring Jeff on and you have him run out to that right side.
Yeah.
Where was Chig in the pattern there? Was he supposed to be the
read? He's 2 in the pattern, so it's Jeff to Chig, and you have Nick on the end line as kind of the if everything collapses down on top or the guy runs with Chig, you kind of have 2 runners away from the play action side, and then we had released John. Ajoku on a route that, again, isn't really intended to go to him, but helps manage all the times we put John in the game that he at least releases at some point. And so he's really not part of the progression. Jeff is the first read. If he were to be, for some reason, wide open, you throw it to Jeff, and you snap right to the backside, which is where Chig was on that particular play. It's a style of play we hit earlier in the drive to Wiley in a very similar very, very, very similar play, just had a different personnel grouping.
So do you know why he didn't get to Chig as the second option in the read?
No, I think the way he explained it was he just as he went, his eyes came back, he picked up Nick first and thought that was he didn't quite feel Chig for whatever reason and ended up taking the throw to Nick. But we got to hit that throw on a 4th down that's open in the red zone.
Were both those guys in the right spot? Because normally you don't see 2 guys within a yard of each other.
Initially they were. When the ball would have been thrown, Chig was on the goal line, Nick was on the end line, and as the ball gets thrown, you see Chig sort of veer back to see if he can go make a play. And I think he was kind of surprised the ball was over his head, so he kind of turns and ends up in a spot. But if you snap the picture on where they were when the ball should have been thrown, we had right where they were supposed to be.
Brian, we talk about X's and O's, and we talk about teaching.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's a results-driven business, and your job is leading.
Mm-hmm.
What's your strategy the rest of the way to lead these guys to the finish line?
To me, it's pretty straightforward. My job is to continue to build what I believe in as far as the process goes. I told this exact same thing to the team this morning that these 4 games are very important for us. They're important games, and even though we're out of playoff contention and there's nothing to play for in the postseason, these are important games for what we're trying to set for the future. And there's a time and a place to be honest, and today was one of them where, look, the season isn't what we want it to be. But there's a lot of things that I believe in our process and how we go about our business, the type of things that we do, and there's a lot of it, examples across the tape in that game even, of what it's supposed to look like. And that's where I trust in what we do and how we do it. And I made it very clear to the players too that that's all those things are good. We're doing things the right way. We haven't seen the results we needed to see. We've lost some close games. We've lost games that I felt like we've been in position to win and haven't made a play or two to win. But I still think you always go back to when you're trying to build a foundation for what's going to be hopefully sustainable success in the future. These things all matter. Every bit of it matters. And how we play in these games matters. How we finish the season matters. How we practice every day still matters. We got a lot of young players. We got people that are going to be here. Every year you change your roster, but there's a lot of players here that are going to be here for 2025. And it's a huge part of getting ready to continue to build for what comes next. And I think it's okay to be honest about that and say that, but that's a huge part of what these next 4 games are is continue to try to set the foundation for what's expected in the future and try to continue to build on what I think are a lot of really good and positive things from a process standpoint and a people standpoint that I think will lead to wins and success moving forward. And we haven't had a chance to show that with 3 wins, obviously. And then there's been moments we've played a brand of football that's not good enough. And we got to keep finding ways to fix that and keep moving forward.
You feel certain there is a future
Oh, what do you mean?
for you?
Oh, yeah, I don't worry about that stuff. That's not for me to worry about. I do everything every day to do my job the best way I possibly can. I put everything into this as much as there's nobody that thinks about how to build this program and what we need to do more than I do. And so, yeah, I don't worry myself with anything other than that at this point. And again, there's things that I can't control, and so I don't focus on that. I focus on what it's going to take to build a program that and build a foundation to a program that's going to allow us to have success in the future. That's my only focus. That's the only thing I think about.
As you look at these last 4 games, like for you personally, obviously this week you're coming up against Cincinnati. How big is that game for you guys to win, or is it just, hey, this is just the next game? Like, how do you approach that?
It's just the next game. I don't have. It's different when you're. It's not like it's a job that you got let go from or you have any animosity towards. I have a lot of respect for everybody in that building, the players, the coaches. And it was a lot of really formative time for me. It was a really fun time to be a part of that organization. We built a pretty awesome product during my time there. And I want to win every game, just like I do, no matter who it is. A lot of respect, but doesn't factor in. It doesn't motivate me to go do anything different, because again, I don't have any ill feelings towards anybody in that place, and I certainly want to win the game, and I want to beat them. But it doesn't. My approach and my perspective on it is that it's still just a game that I want to play well in and have a chance to go win.
Only 2 of Will's touchdown passes this
I'll
year.
come to you, Nick. I got you.
Only 2 of Will's touchdown passes this year come from, I guess, the deep red zone from 10 yards in.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that's got to be better about what he's doing down there and what the play calls are being down there to have more success?
I can certainly help with some of that, play calling wise. Those are things that I look at all the time, and how do we best put guys in better position, and how do we give things to Will that we can go execute. It's generally speaking, from the 10-yard line to you're trying to get yourself into a spot with a fresh set of downs inside the 10-yard line. You want to be in goal-to-go spots where you got 4 shots to get the ball in the end zone, and we've done that a couple times. We need to do more of it. We've had probably a lack of attempts overall over the course of the season. But yeah, there's things that we can do schematically. There's things that we got to do better execution-wise, but all things that I can do a better job of down there. From a play calling perspective.
You've talked a lot about how this is an impatient league.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that, how do you not let that affect your confidence, or does it affect your confidence at all when the results aren't what you want them to be, and you know that in the past that has led to bad things?
Yeah, I don't think it affects my confidence. I think this is not it's not a very forgiving job. It's not one for the faint of heart. There's a lot of things that you have to be supremely confident in yourself. You have to be supremely confident in what you're doing every day. And it's very, very, very challenging, especially when things aren't going well. But I don't ever waver in what I believe. I don't waver in what I think is the right things to do. And that's all I can really control. And if you let your confidence dip, that's usually where things can go wrong. You have to find ways to pick yourself up. You got to get back to work. You got to dust yourself off, and you go attack again. And that's really the only way you can survive in this league. And the patience part is what it is. It's a results-based business, and I fully understand that. And that's just the way it's always been and always will be. So you just keep attacking it every week, and you keep doing the things that you believe in, and you keep pushing forward and try to get things to turn.
This time of year, we hear coaches all the time say, "I'm coaching for my job every week." Is that your attitude? Is that productive to you, or is that something that you don't think?
I don't think about that part of it. I wouldn't say I'm coaching for my job. I'm trying to do the very best I can at every possible moment of the week, of the day, to put ourselves in position to be a successful football team and to win football games. The rest of it's sort of outside of that, I don't control any of that. I just work as hard as I possibly can. I pour everything into this that I have, and do the very best that I can possibly do on a day-to-day basis. And that's all I really think about. And those things that come up, that a lot of that's outside, and I don't really have much control over that either way. So I just try to do the best I can every day.
It's probably a similar theme, I guess, but I guess when you talk with Amy, do you ever get a sense of kind of the situation that the organization is in? New stadium coming up in a couple of years, trying to generate buzz, excitement, etc.
Sure.
And might that impact things as well?
Again, not something I have any control over. I
Just wonder if you
yeah, no, those are things that I'm not naive, and I don't like stick my head in the sand. I understand how all of it works, but that's not anything I focus on. That to me, that's 3 years in this league feels like 50. So those are things that I don't even worry about. I focus on today and tomorrow and how we can best game plan for the Bengals, and that's all I look at, and anything other than that really is for everybody else to look at.
You talked about Will earlier. He talked about getting shot up and playing through the pain yesterday. Have you seen him today? I mean, have you any concern, like, as the week goes on, you might have to limit his practice time? Or?
Yeah, we're going to see. I can't say definitively one way or the other that he'll be any worse for the wear, or if he's going to have some limitations. Hard to know now at this moment. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, and then how he feels on Wednesday, throwing the football and all that, and make he communicates great. The one thing about Will that I very much appreciate is he is one of the toughest dudes we got playing football on our team. I mean, he battles and fights, and those things are really, really impressive, that toughness that he displays. And so we'll see where he's at, and I know that if he's capable of playing, he's going to play.
Are you concerned at all about any splintering? Because yesterday, maybe it was heat of the moment, but some guys said you have to start playing for yourself. And Jeff was talking about how he's tired of seeing the quarterback, laying on the ground. And other guys were saying, 2 turnovers and 6 points is just not enough.
Yeah, those things are all, that's accurate. I mean, 2 turnovers and the way the defense played and only have 6 points certainly is something that I'm just as irritated about as I'm sure they are. Yeah, and look, when you're out of the playoff contention and you're trying to fight, there is an element that guys do. This is their job. They are paid professionals. Their job is to play football. My job is to coach it. That's a part of it, and it ultimately, like I said earlier, that these next 4 games are important for us. They're important for what comes next. They're important for the type of foundation and culture we're trying to continue to build, and we're trying to set ourselves up to do things the right way. So when we come back in the next phase of this, that we're in a better place than we were when we started, and that's the idea. Outside of that, that's football. I mean, guys, your film is your resume. They have to play well because some of these guys are looking for new contracts. They're on 1-year contracts. That's all a part of it. So I don't take any issue with that. I don't look at that as splintering at all. I do think one of the strengths of our team is the way that they do stick together and do play for each other, and do things the right way in that regard. So all a part of it when you get to this point in the season, and you are where we're at. But I got a lot of confidence in those guys and the way that they go about their business and how connected they've been over the course of this season despite the adversity. So I feel really good about our locker room and where they are. Again, they should be frustrated just as much as I am.
Big play on Jacksonville's drive.
I'll come back. Yeah.
Sorry, that was pretty much what I was going to ask. I guess when you were talking about setting the foundation for the future, the guys who are going to be here for the future, what has kind of led you to believe that they are receptive to that message?
I just know that we have a lot of young players. We have a lot of 1st, 2nd, 3rd year players. We got guys that are under contract, and so there's a large majority of guys on our team that are set to return. And this, it's okay. And maybe they don't like hearing that particular message, but the message is what it is, and that's where we are. And there's a lot of guys that this stuff is important for. You don't get to just mail in 4 weeks of an NFL season. They only get 17 of these games, and there's an approach that's necessary to go play them. And I believe and trust in our guys to go get themselves ready to go play every game just the way they did in week 1 and week 2 and week 3. It's the same to me. And I think that's also very revealing of character if that's not how you approach your job. And I don't sense at any point that we have guys in our locker room that are that way. I've got a ton of confidence that they do things the right way.
Big play on Jacksonville's drive on the touchdown drive. They had the 30-yard gain or so.
Yeah.
Arden Key looks like he ends up with Brian Thomas
Yep.
Then he goes and after Mac Jones as he goes outside. Was Arden Key in the right place at the time that he was covering him? And if
Yes.
so, what should have happened at that point?
Yeah, it's we were in a simulated pressure, and then Arden was a dropper, and we pressured off the front side, and so it was just kind of a different four-man rush. So we plug a backer and drop Arden. Play got extended, and Max sort of gets out on the edge, and Arden's matching the flat, which is where he's supposed to be. And then ultimately he sort of comes off once he feels the quarterback start to run. He comes off of that coverage responsibility. And again, it's a spot that defensive ends aren't in a lot. And he got stuck in sort of the worst case scenario where there's nobody else out there, and it's just sort of him choosing between the quarterback and the receiver. And he left the coverage responsibility to go try to tackle the quarterback probably a little early. But tough spot to be for him, and you just got to let stay on your coverage, let somebody else make the tackle, and if it's a first down, so be it. But that one gave up. That's one of the very few plays explosively we gave up on defense.
How do you think inside backers did, and is there potential to get Kenneth back, and
Yeah.
the decision to sit Baker, was that just a coach's decision on performance?
Yeah, it was both. I mean, he's dealing with a bit of a shoulder thing, but ultimately didn't feel like we felt like the other guys gave a better chance to go win the game. And at the end of the day, I thought Gifford and Otis played pretty dang good. That was a really pretty impressive performance by both those guys. They played fast. They played physical. I thought Luke did a really nice job handling the green dot communication. That was something that was very new for him. He hadn't done that in a while. To be able to communicate to the defense and run the show as the Mike linebacker was great. So I was actually really, really pleased with the way both of those guys played, Otis and Giff. They played that as a winning performance by them for sure. So that was positive to see. And then again, we'll see on Kenneth. You're dealing with some muscle issues. Those things can potentially linger. He was hopeful to try to play. He felt decent, and we worked out Saturday. We could just tell he wasn't in the place to go play the game. So after the workout, we made a decision to shut him down for the week, and then we'll see where he comes back on Wednesday.
You feel like you're on an island, Brian? Like organizationally, things are not good. But you're the guy who answers for absolutely everything.
Oh no, I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm in constant contact with everybody here, ownership, front office, those things, the conversations daily, usually weekly, and so those are things that this is the job. I'm the head coach of the football team, and I'm the one that walks out and talks to you guys 4 or 5 days a week and do the production meetings on Saturdays and Fridays, and that's part of my job. And so I don't feel like it's on an island at all. I actually feel pretty confident about where we are and where we're headed, and those things I don't think about. This just to me is part of what being a head coach is I'm the one that's out front in front of the media and multiple times a week. So no, I feel perfectly comfortable with how it is.
Anytime we go out in that field, we're going to compete and try to win the game, and that'll be our purpose. That should be purpose enough every game of the year, and I know we've been, eliminated, but to me, anytime you get a chance to be out in the field, you're competing and trying to do your best. So that doesn't change for us, and we're going to keep doing that.
How was that message received in the room?
I think that's pretty much everyone's mentality. Honestly, I think you make the season even more difficult if you decide you're going to check out, and I think that, to me, that's the worst possible way to approach it. But I don't think anyone has an issue with that. I think everyone's, we're all competitors here. So
What gives you the confidence that no one will check out?
I think everyone's professionals, and we know what we're here to do. And I don't think I see anybody checked out in our previous game yesterday, and I don't think I saw anyone like that today. And guys are here to do their job, and they're here to compete. And I don't think anyone wants to be around anyone else who checks out. So I think that's the mentality, and guys are still going to compete.
What's the confidence level in Brian and in management, and what's that based on?
Yeah, I think everyone understands, our goal here and our common goal, and appreciates Coach and bringing us to that. And, the results aren't showing right now, but it's part of a bigger purpose, I think, and building towards the future at this point. So it's continuing to work towards a common goal and his vision, and I think guys are still driven and bought into that. And results aren't there yet. Not everyone, not every head coach can start every year, their first year, with an unbelievably good record and stuff like that. You have to build to it. So I think guys are just kind of trusting that plan and building to it.
Do you feel like guys are patient enough to wait to see it happen? How long can that wait be?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating because you want to see a turnaround. You want to win. Losing sucks. but I think it's just one of the things you really have to buy into, and everyone's process will be different. So it's just a matter of trusting that and buying in. And I think we're all impatient. I'm sure Callie is impatient. I think we're all like that, but it's just a matter of continuing to work.
Let me say to not let one loss become two, and not let it affect the next week. How do you do that? How do you move on from that one?
I think that's always part of being a professional. I feel like I say it a lot to you guys, just like it's the NFL. There's another really good opponent coming the next week, and you have to learn and you have to grow from the previous game, but you also have to be professional and move on and get ready to prepare, because the Bengals don't care what happened to us. They don't feel bad for us. They're going to try to beat us. So time to move on, time to work.
Which maybe as a group, what's gone right in your eyes, and maybe what are some areas that just haven't progressed like you hoped they would?
As a group, meaning offensive line.
Right.
I think the times where we've been able to establish a run game, it's been there. I think we've been able to get Tony going, and the times, the previous week we got down so quickly, it was hard to get the run game going. But I think we've done a good job in certain areas there. I think the protection is still frustrating for us. There's been growth, but there's been a little bit of a lack of growth in some areas, and your quarterback's still getting hit. That's got to be better. I mean, there's no other way around it, I guess. I think we're all frustrated by that. And you want to keep your guy upright. And so I think that's somewhere where you haven't progressed as well as we should have.
How do you feel about building towards the future and the importance of winning these final games? Like, is that something you believe in, that you could win and drive that momentum into next season?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think for me personally, just for my personal performance and play, I feel like I finished last year on a strong note. I think that really kind of drove me with our last game last year. I think that kind of drove me into the off season and kind of gave me some confidence going into this year. And so I think that can apply to the whole team in terms of the way we finish. And really, kind of rattling off some wins here to finish the year. I know it may not seem to mean much, but I think it does matter. It kind of leaves you with that good feeling going into the off season and something to build off of and feel confident about.
Does Bill express frustration over the pace of the pass protection development, or is he more about, patience and trust the process?
There's definitely frustration. I think we all feel it. I think it's, given the results, I think it's completely normal for all of us to feel frustrated, including him. So I think there's definitely frustration. But once Wednesday hits, we got in the practice field. I think it's just continuing to work and try to get better. But yeah, I think we all have frustration at this point. I think that's a pretty valid feeling for everyone to feel, including Bill.
With the frustration, does it feel like, is it coming from seeing how close you guys are to executing and finishing off some games with wins, or is it stemming from being the struggles executing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Especially yesterday, seeing how we had some really great opportunities to win, and we did some good things, especially in the run game. I think that's where there's frustration there too, and then I think it's also just not doing some simple things that we know to do and we've done before and not executing that in the moment. So it's both. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way it's felt so far.
Jason's pretty good at being tough on himself right now, last couple of weeks. Do you lean on your experience last year to kind of guide him through this finish?
Yeah, I think I hit a bit of a rookie wall last year in December. In terms of my play, and JC's tough and he's really competitive, and so I know he feels strongly the times where he slips up, and I think we've all seen his ability and how really good he can be, and he will be very good. It's just a matter of continuing to focus as this year rolls along and we finish, and to finish strong, and I have confidence that he'll do that. He's a really big competitor. He really, really cares and really, really wants to be a great player, and it matters to him a lot. So I think it's just a matter of focusing, keep getting better, not letting, a few bad results kind of kill you, mentally, and he'll be fine. He's just got to keep working at it and pick himself up and keep going.
Do you talk to him about it, or is he fine?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've had the conversation just yet, but I think I try to keep him confident and when I can, and just do the best I can with that. But obviously it'll be on him eventually to pick himself up, but he'll be okay. I think it's just a matter of continuing to work hard.
You mentioned kind of flushing the frustration by the time Wednesday comes around, but why is that the good thing to do? Can you explain why you don't want to carry that over into the week versus kind of let it feed you through the week?
It does feed you. It's a really tight balance, I think, because you don't want to just totally ignore all the mistakes that you've made the previous week, because those will matter the next week. But it's also like a little bit sort of immature and unprofessional, in my opinion, to just continue to dwell on something that already happened when you have a really good opponent that's going to come in the next week. Like, that's the time you spend dwelling is time taking away from preparing for the next opponent. So it's always finding that balance, I think. But it's not going to be 100% like just down the dumps for the whole week about the previous game when you have another really good team coming in. So
For you, what's left to play for? You guys are not in the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah.
What's left for you?
I mean, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. What kind of player you want to be recognized for in the NFL? At the end of the year, the last thing you put on the field is the last thing teams are going to see. So whether you're here or somewhere else, you want to put good film out there no matter what's going on. So we put in a lot of work this season as a defense. We put in a lot of work this season, and we feel like we still got room to improve. We're still going to go out here and improve on the practice field, and the job is to go out here and just put the best foot forward.
The coaches have to work with you guys through this. Where does the belief in the coaching staff come from still when the results don't match what they're always teaching you guys?
It comes from the film. So when you watch the film, if what they're coaching isn't working and you see it, then you get it corrected. But what they're coaching, and we watch film, you see the plays where things are going well when it's performed right, and then we see where we're just lacking just one or two things here and there where we can improve at, and that's the difference in the game. So if we just got to trust it. We see good things in the game that we want to continue to do, and then we see things in the game that we got to get rid of.
How tough is it after a game when you shut them out for 3 quarters and then they're able to score on you late? At one of the tougher weeks to kind of review film on?
We got to find a way to win regardless. If our job is to win the game is to hold them to no points, and then that's what we got to do to win. If it's vice versa, if we can't stop them on offense, our offense's job is to outscore their offense. So it's all about complementary football, at the end of the day, and we just haven't been able to do that throughout the whole year.
You think, is it fair to say that's kind of been a recurring theme, that no matter how well you guys play defensively, the crucial stop drive hasn't always kind of produced the result you guys are looking for?
Yep. You just got to be able to put an end to the drive, put that fire out. There's a lot of times, a handful of times where we did put them out, a handful of times where we didn't. So whatever that may be, I feel like every week we're improving. Every week, as a defense, we're continuing to communicate at a high level, to a point where we kind of know what other teams are about to be running. So as long as we just keep improving, everyone will, finish the year off the way they want to.
Feels like you guys in the secondary have a different crew out there each week. This week Roger was out, Cheeto was in. How have you guys been able to manage the communication and kind of stay cohesive back there?
We're all in the same meeting room, so we all, talk. Cheeto's in there when he hasn't been practicing, but he's been able to hear the coaching points throughout the weeks. So it's easy just, to plug a guy in there, especially a veteran like Cheeto, to come in and, understand what we're trying to accomplish, as a defense for the game.